accelerators and mentors. And they're very, very similar in a lot of mentoring is done at accelerators, and there was a question about the difference between accelerators and venture capital, and I think these guys will clarify that a little bit more.
John Axelrod, hometown is Albany, New York, and went to Harvard, so a little bit up the coast from you guys. My background is I was out of college a management consultant originally, a place called McKinsey, and then been a serial entrepreneur, started and sold a couple companies, one in the e-commerce space and musical instruments, the other software company. What you're sitting here is the Entrepreneurs Roundtable Accelerator, which is something we started about 3 years ago now as a tech accelerator. With the idea of being, we thought over the next, when I started my company, New York didn't have much in the way of a tech community, believe it or not. And we believe that over the next 10 years, New York is going to be increasing a tech center because it's the home to so many great industries. By our count, about 10 global industries have their headquarters here. And we think if you're going to start a company that's either serving or disrupting them, why not be in New York where we are? So what the Entrepreneurs Roundtable Accelerator does is we take 2 classes a year, currently 10 companies each, those cohorts. You guys talked about accelerators already? Or should
No, so tell them what an accelerator is.
Great. So what an accelerator is. You'll see the word accelerator used in a couple different ways. Just only quickly, if it's helpful, define 3 terms that we hear used somewhat interchangeably and that you guys may hear. You hear accelerator, incubator, and co-working spaces, which are somewhat similar, somewhat different, but you see them used, and at least for our purposes, I'll explain how we look at them differently. A co-working space, we look at a place where you find a lot of early-stage companies working. They may have programming, they may have meaning folks coming from the outside to talk about certain topics, but primarily it's just a place where folks go pay for desks and go to work. You've got incubators, which is often, we look at it when companies or organizations start their own businesses. So they'll say, hey, we have an idea, we want to go build whatever kind of software company, we're going to go bring in a team and hire them in or start internally. And there's accelerators, which is what we are and we're talking about, which is where we invest in very early stage teams. We usually first money in, and we look to partner with an early stage management team and help grow the business over a very concentrated area. The way we work is we've got 4-month programs, and over those 4 months we work with teams very closely on product, marketing, business model / business development, again, depending if it's a consumer or an enterprise company. And then finally, we hopefully help them get funding, not by being bankers, but by helping companies tell a story that we look at being a metric-driven story. How to help companies find product market fit, how to help them test it, and then we end with a demo day where we have about 750 investors come to our last one at IAC. As part of that, we've got a group of 250 mentors that work very, very closely with the companies. And I can talk more about how we do that. For us, it's all about how to get the right kind of folks in touch with the companies to help them, whether it be user experience, whether it be consumer marketing, whether it be IP protection, whether it be database sharding, or anything in between. And our hope is that over a 4-month period, we really can accelerate companies that by making certain ideas fail faster, prove out others, and then getting them in touch with the right folks, we can, in a 4-month period, get companies a lot farther than they would ever be on their own. So that's the very quick version.
So it's kind of like, an accelerator is kind of like a co-working space with incubation type activities wrapped around mentoring?
It can be, yeah. And certain accelerators don't have co-working spaces tied to it. For us, we bring all our companies in for 4 months. They come, they work at our space. We've got a limited amount of program every week where we've got a featured entrepreneur speaker every Wednesday, and we do pitch practice every Friday. But most of it's around trying to bring those mentors in to work with the companies.
Great. Now, Brad, I know you've got a accelerator as well. I want you to talk about it's healthcare focused. So
we don't do healthcare, they do healthcare, so we're kind of the opposite area.
Yeah, so most accelerators kind of operate the same way. One way that I would look at it is you're bringing a bunch of part-time founders on with your team that often have done it before. So when I started my first company, made a ton of mistakes. We try to make entrepreneurs make fewer. They're still going to make a lot of them. And we work with companies for the life of their company. We get involved to help them avoid those mistakes and provide them with connections to people they'd like to know that might not already be in their network. And that can be really valuable to a number of early stage companies. So it's really, I mean, it's kind of typically it's a dedicated group of folks that run a program that can actually give you kind of more help, will be digging in with you, and then they'll also often be kind of bringing together a community aspect, which is often sometimes one of the biggest assets to this, and kind of putting you in touch with folks that you wouldn't be able to get in touch with, or would have been exceptionally more difficult to get in touch with if you tried to kind of do it on your own. And it's a pretty good way to start a company if you're going to do it and have those resources to bat from you right from day one, and hopefully help you kind of stay more focused exactly on what you're going to do.
So Elliot talked about applying to an accelerator. So this is an option as you're building your company. As you may have a small team. It's like, well, what do I do next? Well, you can apply to an accelerator like either of these guys, and so you need to be accepted. And they get hundreds of applications and accept 10.
Yeah, we do 20 a year. We probably get about 600.
So it's hard.
We do 20 a year. We probably get about 1,000 for the one we had over the summer. We're broader than they are, so we probably get a few more. But our
much higher over the summer, right?
Sorry?
A lot more applications over the summer.
Well, our general trend is up, but yeah, I mean, if you norm for it, generally, because we get a lot of folks who are graduating who apply.
And ours is oddly not, but I mean, it kind of makes sense. Most of our entrepreneurs, we don't accept college part-time, and most of our folks are. And
we don't accept them, but we get the applications, we do get them. But we do have a program starting in June. We one in January, one in June. So for you guys' timing, we do have one starting in June.
So these guys run accelerators. I'm one of the mentors for an accelerator, a different accelerator. I mentioned I've advised over 100 startups. We talked before about when's the right time to start a company. Very often it's when you come across an idea, and you can't necessarily force it and just say, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur today because that's what I want to do. So for me, I go back and forth between starting companies when I have an idea, which I'm about to do right now, and helping other people with their companies when I don't have an idea. And I've done that through accelerators, which I think are awesome. And I wish I had an accelerator back when I started my first company back in '96. Would have been amazing. But there are also other resources that you can use within accelerators and beyond, and those are mentors and advisors. And as Brown, soon-to-be Brown grads, you guys have an amazing network that's gotten so much better over the years. And I really recommend tapping that network. Just as a couple of examples, my first business partner was a Brown grad, second business partner, Brown grad, first investor, Tom Gardner from Motley Fool. I needed to learn about the tea business, called the guys from Nantucket Nectars who were in my class, Tim Scott, Tom First. Like, you have this insane, actually the Songs guy, I was looking at building an app, helping a team build an app, just reached out blindly to the Songs guy, and he helped me so much. I think he's gone, but for nothing, people love to help entrepreneurs, and as long as you manage that, if you're respectful of their time and find the right person with the right kind of expertise, you can really get a lot of help, both through accelerators and beyond.
There's probably 2 notes, so I don't think you guys need to take notes, but if you really want some takeaways from today, to me it would be like people and passion. So throughout your entire career, if you're an entrepreneur or not an entrepreneur, people is like the lifeblood of your success and the relationships you build. You probably, I found people that actually have broader networks or were able to, you guys are near RISD, especially for entrepreneurs. Like, if you're friends with someone who does CS and you're friends with a designer, you actually, start to cultivate and you're just a good person to people around you, you're going to do better. It sounds like silly, but it's a good thing to just remind yourself. Then on the passion side, again, if you're going to start a company, it has to be a problem you're passionate about, or if you're just going to go work for a big company, I know a lot of people that are older and just miserable. If I was in your shoes answering the question of like what I wanted to do, I probably wouldn't have done it this way when I was with you guys. would have done it the same way and said like private equity or whatever. But these days I'd probably say, these are 5 companies that I think are amazing why, or these are kind of like trends that are going on that are amazing why. Like I think Tesla is an amazing company, because how they're changing the industry. So I would probably, I think, private equity is kind of boring in general. That's just me. But I think there's a lot of amazing companies that are doing amazing things that are interesting, and you can go work for them, or you can try to start them. And I would try to figure out what companies in the world out there you think are amazing, or have really smart people, like people that have done very successfully, have gone and just tried to join companies with some of the smartest people, and you'll learn so much more. And those are the ones that are typically successful as well.
Yeah, great call. I mean, if you want to be an entrepreneur but you don't have an idea right now, one great idea I think is to go work for an entrepreneur that will inspire you. I've done that a couple of times. I worked for Tommy Hilfiger in the early days, and I worked for Polo Jeans for a woman named Mindy Grossman, who's now CEO of Home Shopping Network. And it just, I was like the second, third guy in. I would do anything. Like I was the spreadsheet guy, because I went to business school, even though that wasn't my thing. But I learned so much and got so inspired by watching these great people build amazing companies. And then when it was time to build my own, I had some great lessons learned and some experience, and knew what I was getting into a little bit.
You're going to go work for someone else, go figure out who you want to work with and how you can leverage your relationships to go work with those people, or find the type of people that you want to work with.
The other couple ways to think about it are, one, if there's industries that interest you, how to, first is, if you can find the person who really inspires you, great. Second is figuring out if there's areas of interest you think are dynamic and things are changing, how to put yourself either at some of the companies that they're already in the industries where you can learn about them. I mean, if you're interested in, thinking digital media, for example, there's, whether it be older new media companies are doing a lot of things in the area, you can put yourself in a place to understand that industry better while you're still trying to come up with ideas on your own. Going to work for an investment bank or something like that probably doesn't get you operating experience to understand the industry. It teaches you certain kind of skills around modeling, but it would be very different than getting yourself in an operational role where you actually understand what the industry is. I don't think there's right or wrong, it fits kind of what you want to do.
Yeah, I would say, Denham, that is, if you think you're interested in private equity, a path to private equity, again, that's a pretty small industry in itself, but they hire a lot of investment bankers, and so that's a very good training ground. Do a lot of modeling, a lot of spreadsheet analysis, and that translates into PE pretty well. On the venture side, we don't hire a lot of investment bankers. We hire management consultants. We want people who understand industries that can better assess those sort of things. So if you're interested in maybe venture, management consulting, even boutique management consulting, where you might be industry focused, might be a good way to go.
So we look for number one, great team, number two, exciting market, and we look at business model third. Ideally, we'd like to find all three, but as early as a lot of these companies are, we understand business model often is developing as you go. Beyond that, we require a technical co-founder in every team. Not everyone does. That's kind of our view of the world for our model. We want folks who in a 4-month period can make progress on their product. But we're only doing the IT part of the world. Everything's software in some way that we're doing. Beyond that, in terms of the companies, we get companies that come from, they're all early, but a bunch of stages. I mean, most of ours aren't just two guys an idea. Usually it's probably about half our companies have an alpha or beta product that's already been launched, and they're coming to us to try to, fully launch, find product market fit, expand. About 25% of our companies have actually been around like 9 to 18 months and actually have a few customers and revenue, and they're coming to us to change their trajectory. And only about a quarter of them are really folks who are, we call them team vets, who just really have a concept and maybe some very early technology. And those are people who usually are coming in an area where they have some expertise. If that's helpful.
Great. All right. Well, thank you guys.